And right about now, I'm going to invite our keynote speaker, who is Dr. Jas Bedi, who is the chairman of the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. Welcome to the stage. Thank you. Let's give him a round of applause as he comes. And I want to say thank you to all our partners, all the key stakeholders who are with us today. I want to say thank you to NEMA. I want to say thank you to all the stakeholders and all our partners for this particular event today. So, karibu sana daktari, and we are your greatest champions.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you all. Representatives of the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change, Forestry and other government agencies, representatives of high commissions and embassies who are present here today, CEOs, captains of industry, KEPSA members, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I'm very happy to join you on this 9th Circle Conference and Awards. Indeed, it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all and encourage your active participation as we deliberate on the pertinent circularity and sustainability issues in Kenya and in East Africa. For those visiting Kenya for the first time, and even for those returning visitors, karibuni sana. We hope you get some time to visit your favorite destinations, and welcome to Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, sustainability challenges, including water crises, climate change, biodiversity loss, are accelerating faster than predicted. In Kenya, 22,000 tons of waste are generated daily, with only 8% being recycled. Global greenhouse gas emissions are rising at 1.1% annually, contributing to severe climate impacts such as rising temperatures, extreme weather conditions, water scarcity. Furthermore, biodiversity loss is reaching critical levels with 1 million species that risk extinction. We in Kenya, in the last 24 months, we have witnessed extreme drought and flooding. So you can imagine how the global weather patterns are changing because of what's going on the planet. These challenges are not just environmental, but have far-reaching effects on businesses, health, agriculture, education, and national security. In Africa alone, climate change could reduce GDP by 3% by 2050. As we approach the United Nations Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, it is evident that urgent action is required to address these pressing social, economic, environmental issues that hinder sustainable development worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, creating an equilibrium between economic, social, and environmental sustainability pillars necessitates concerted collective action. And I'm glad that we're talking about this sustainability and how we should move forward. The video that we just saw, let's be clear. I think all of us are very clear in this room that something has to be done, and that's why we are here. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and the global dynamics really are not helping us achieve our goals, but I'm sure as we deliberate, a lot can be done. Businesses, and indeed the entire private sector, are identified as big consumers and polluters, and simultaneously critical catalysts to speed up Kenya's global transition to sustainability agenda. We all know that sustainability, traceability, transparency is a new mantra in business, in every value chain, in every business across the world. But there are global dynamics and there are price dynamics that actually hinder some of us to embrace those dynamics. I saw earlier on in the presentation that came up with that fashion show where talking about reuse, reduce, how can we recycle. And the truth be told, the global dynamics on textiles, and I come from the textile industry, it's 100 million tons of fiber is being consumed. Out of 100 million tons, 27 million tons is cotton. 55 million tons is polyester. And polyester is PET bottles on water that you get. And how do you recycle all that? Because the global demand is heavy, and if you look at fashion over the years, slow fashion took a back seat, fast fashion took a front seat. With Zara, Mango, and all these retailers, they moved away very, very quickly from a traditional 4-season per annum business, which was spring, summer, autumn, winter, has moved to really the store having new clothes every week. And a lot of it is being dumped in our waste, landmines. The per capita consumption is not reduced. The per capita consumption on all textiles in America is 39 kilos. That means every American buys 39 kilos to put in his wardrobe year on year. In Europe, it's much lower because the sustainability concerns are stronger. And in Europe, the per capita consumption on all textiles is 25 kilos. In China, the per capita consumption is 16 kilos. In India, it is 6 kilos. In Africa, it's 2.5 kilos, out of which 1 kilo is second-hand. So our new consumption of all textiles is only 1.5 kilos. So when you see that global dynamic, it actually tells you how wasteful are we as a society. And the more money you have, the more wasteful you are. And it just tells you your dynamics on purchase. So a lot of things need to be done. Fast forward, how do I see it? I see that Europe will probably stay where they are at about 25 kilos per capita consumption. US will grow up marginally to about 42 kilos, but the biggest players in consumption will be India and China. China will grow from 16 to 25. They will equal Europe. India will grow from 6 to 15, because as you make money, you consume more, you buy more. But that doesn't help our agenda of how are we going to reduce this consumption, because if there's 55 million tons of polyester today, and that moves all of a sudden to 80 million tons, the problem is compounded. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done, because at the end of the day, if you look at polyester, virgin polyester is cheaper than recycled polyester. And then the sums don't stack up. Why would you pay more for recycled, reused, when new is so much cheaper? Because of scale. And those are the real dynamics that I think need to be addressed. Otherwise, we'll continue seeing demand of new fibers as opposed to recycled fibers. So a lot of work, and I'm sure this is the beginning. And these discussions are happening across the world with every big retailer. The first thing they asked us today is, what is your sustainability agenda? What is your carbon footprint? We all know that in 1st January 2025, in the next 40 days, the European Union is going to charge 5% carbon tax on all imports. So people are thinking, what should we do differently? How should we start nearshoring? How should we start onshoring? And now the new word and the new buzzword is friendly shoring. Are you on the right side of the business divide? Or are we in this Cold War between China and the US? And how is that going to impact us? And how is Trump 2.0 going to help this business agenda? So there's a lot of things and a lot of diversity that's going to come up. But yes, the Kenya Private Sector Alliance has positioned itself as a torchbearer in advancing the circularity and sustainability agenda, and to invigorate businesses to lower their carbon and ecological footprint. And this carbon footprint is going to be very important. We'll start seeing supply chains localizing, supply chains regionalizing, and this imported supply chain where cotton is grown in Africa, spun in Asia, knitted in Bangladesh, sold in the US, that carbon footprint, as soon as it gets taxed, especially with Europe starting it as soon as next year, we'll start seeing reorganization of supply chains. KEPSA's Knowledge Center, Sustainable Inclusive Business, SIB, which is your host today, has implemented various prospects to address the pressing plastic pollution crisis and to champion the implementation of transformational regulatory framework. Through the Plastic Producer Responsibility Project, supported by USAID through Prosper Africa, SIB has held workshops, media engagements to foster dialogue between businesses and policymakers on compliance with the proposed extended producer responsibility regulations. I think the video was shown this morning. This event is therefore quite timely, as only 10 days ago, the exercising powers conferred by Section 13 as read with Section 33 of Sustainable Waste Management Act, the Cabinet Secretary of the Environment, Climate Change and Forestry gazetted the EPR regulations. These regulations may now be cited as Sustainable Waste Management, or in brackets, would call it Extended Producer Responsibility Regulations Act 2024. With the availability and accessibility of these regulations, businesses now have no reason not to take responsibility of their product until the end of their product life cycle. Additionally, as part of the business's feedback on challenges in accessing EPR and other policy communications and material, KEPSA through SIB is revamping the National Environmental Management Authority website. Once the new website is accessible, businesses will benefit from improved user experience, access to policy materials, public notices, and other key communications, including the EPR. It is worth noting that SIP is a secretariat to Kenya Plastics Pact, which is the video we saw earlier on. This ambitious and highly collaborative platform brings together plastic value chain players, including businesses, producer responsibility organizations, NGOs, collectors, and recyclers to advocate for eliminating unnecessary problematic plastic packaging materials. During this conference, a public awareness campaign has been launched to sensitize consumers to sustainable consumer choices. I encourage you to engage, join, and interact with the campaign and available KPP materials such as its 2030 roadmap on practical steps to eliminate problematic and unnecessary plastic packaging materials and the design guidelines for responsibility and recyclability for PET and HPET bottles and jars. KEPSA's commitment to advancing green investments and aligning businesses' practices and sustainable pathways is exemplified by its demonstration to the Carbon Market Guidebook for Kenyan enterprises, created in collaboration with the World Bank. This guidebook offers practical step-by-step guidance to help Kenyan entrepreneurs navigate and benefit from the carbon markets. I also chair the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency. Some of you may know that. And our exports are about $6 billion. And I was just mapping out for the next 20 years, where are we going to go as a country? And the way I see it, by 2030, we might become carbon markets and carbon credits carbon footprint might become a very big business for Kenya. And you can see that with our very aggressive going green agenda. 92% of Kenya's energy mix today is renewable and green energy. And we have a target by 2030 that Kenya should become the #1 country with 100% green and renewable energy. And I don't think it's impossible. Kenyans, we are very clear in our mind. We win all the marathons and we are always running to be first. And I think even in the global stage, we will probably be the first country to probably have 100% renewable and green energy. You've seen our president who's talking about growing 15 billion trees by 2032. So all that is actually following food system to textiles and apparel is characterized by unique processes that require distinctive approaches to address energy and waste use, waste management, and other sustainability aspects. I've talked about my personal interest in the textile apparel value chain, and I've already shared what I think in a shirt from Kenya, and you get a label that this shirt or this garment is made using green energy. I think it'll have a value proposition. And I keep telling my customers, a lot of them come to me and say, what is your USP? And I tell them, if you want a USP, a unique selling proposition, please go to China. They do a very good job for USP. And then they ask me, now what are you doing and what are you selling? I said, I sell a UVP. And so many of them ask me, what is a UVP? And I tell them a UVP is a unique value proposition that I'll give you. And the value proposition I'm going to give you is transparency, sustainability, green manufacturing, something which no other country can give. And I think as soon as we start talking value as opposed to selling propositions, you'll start seeing the nation will actually now have to rethink their business models. Even as information dissemination is underway, the textile apparel manufacturers begin to source ethically their fibers, raw materials, embrace product design and longevity, upcycle and recycle, offcuts and wastewater is now a discussion in the boardrooms of all the retailers. And I think it's important that circularity and sustainability approaches are present as an opportunity for business, especially SMEs, to revive the production of natural fibers. Like I said, the world production of cotton as a natural fiber is only 27 million tons. That means 27% of the world's consumption. And I think it requires a landmass to grow more, which will not happen as our consumption goes up. 1 in 4 people on this planet will be African by 2050. Our population is going to go up from current 8 billion to 10 billion. So our demand is definitely going to go up. I think only the consumption patterns need to change on how we consume so that we can